We see these rules and symbols all the time, right? But have you ever really stopped to think about what's behind them? The lessons, the close calls, the stories? Today, we're diving into Taqaa's 12 essential safety rules. And trust me, this is about way more than just checking a box. It's about a promise we make to each other that everyone goes home safe. You know this poster. Of course you do. It's on the wall at pretty much every site we have. But these little icons, they're not just a list of do's and don'ts. They're a whole system, a philosophy that's been built from years of experience, all for one single goal, making sure you, me, all of us get home at the end of the day. So today, let's get past the poster and really understand the why.
So let's talk about the number 12. It's not 50, it's not 100, it's 12. These are the absolute essentials. They've been boiled down to the most critical, life-saving actions that we know prevent the worst from happening. You can think of these 12 rules as the bedrock of our entire safety culture here at Taqaa.
To make this easier to digest, we've grouped these into 4 key themes. And the first one is the plan before action. Why? Because the most important safety tool you'll ever use isn't your hard hat, it's not your gloves, it's the thinking, the planning, the preparation that happens before you even think about picking up a tool. First on the list, permit to work. Simple, right? Think of it like the official green light from a race marshal. It's that formal check that says, yep, we've looked at this job, we understand the risks, and we have the right controls in place. Working without one is like driving with your eyes closed. So the question you always have to ask is, do we have a valid permit for this job right now? Next up, ground disturbance. Now, this one is all about the dangers you can't see. That ground under our feet could be hiding anything. We're talking high-pressure gas lines, critical electrical cables. One scoop in the wrong place with an excavator, well, the consequences can be catastrophic. This rule forces us to stop and ask, are we 100% sure we know what's buried here? And the last piece of our planning puzzle is management of change. You'll hear it called MOC. This is the ultimate, whoa, stop and think rule. If anything, and I mean anything, changes from the original plan, maybe you need a different tool, maybe the weather turns, work stops. Period. It stops until that change gets formally looked at, because we have to make sure we're not accidentally creating a whole new risk. Okay, so that's planning the work. Our second big idea is all about protecting you, the worker. We call this section your personal shield. These are the rules that cover your individual responsibility and, of course, the gear that literally keeps you safe. Let's talk PPE, personal protective equipment. This seems like a no-brainer, but the most important word here is required. It's not about grabbing any old pair of gloves. It's about having the correct PPE for the very specific hazards of the job in front of you. This stuff is your last line of defense. You got to make sure it's the right one. And you know, that personal shield, it extends beyond the plant. The moment you get behind the wheel, you're operating a piece of heavy machinery. This rule is here to remind us all that your vehicle is a workspace too. And in that workspace, your focus, that's the most critical piece of safety equipment you've got. Okay, so we've got our plan and we've got our personal shield. Now let's talk about where we're working. Our third section is all about navigating high-risk zones. These are the environments where the danger is just part of the landscape, and they demand our full attention. Confined space entry. Let me be clear, this is absolutely non-negotiable. We're talking about spaces where the air you're breathing could become deadly in just minutes, or where you could easily get trapped. That is why you cannot, under any circumstances, enter one without formal, explicit authorization that confirms that space is safe to enter at that exact moment. Now, this might sound a lot like the last one, but there's a really important difference. Restricted area entry is about designated zones. A confined space is about the nature of the space. A restricted area is a place we've marked off. So when you see that barrier tape, it means you're about to enter an area with a known hazard, like heavy machinery. And again, permission is everything. Working at height. This one is simple, and it is stark. Gravity never takes a day off. It's totally unforgiving. Any work that you're doing off the ground requires fall protection. The critical thing to remember is that the plan and the gear have to be in place to protect you before your feet ever leave the ground. And now for a hazard that is truly silent. Overhead electric power lines. This one's scary because you can't always see the danger, you can't hear it, you can't smell it. A crane boom that gets just a little too close is all it takes. So this rule's about being proactive, identifying that risk way ahead of time and putting solid controls in place before the work even starts. All right, we're at our final section. Let's talk about mastering the machine. These last few rules are all about that critical point where people and powerful equipment meet, where having precise control means everything. Energy isolation. This is all about making absolutely sure that when something is off, it's really, truly off. Before anyone does any maintenance, that equipment has to be in what we call a zero energy state. That means it's disconnected, and this is the most important part. You have to verify it has no leftover stored energy. That verification step is a life or death moment. Lifting operations. This is so much more than just picking up something heavy. Every major lift is like a complex, choreographed dance. It needs a detailed plan, and every single person involved, from the crane operator to the person giving signals, has to follow that plan to the absolute letter. There's no room for improvising, no exception. And finally, we have system override. You know those safety systems like emergency shutdowns or alarms? They are the guardians of the entire operation. They're there for a reason. So disabling one, even for a moment, is an incredibly serious act that demands the highest level of authorization, and only for very specific, tightly controlled reasons. And let's be perfectly 100% clear about what this says. This is not a friendly list of suggestions. This is not a set of guidelines. This is a fundamental requirement. These rules apply to every single person, from the brand new hire to the most senior person in the company. Safety is never optional. So when you put it all together, you can see it, right? These 12 rules aren't just random. They create a complete safety mindset. You start by planning before you act. Then you make sure you protect yourself. You absolutely have to know your zone and its unique risks. And finally, you must control your equipment. It's not a checklist. It's a way of thinking, a way of working. So in the end, this all comes down to something much bigger than just a list of rules. Safety isn't just a task we do. It's a core part of who we are. It is our culture. So the next time you walk by that poster, don't just ask yourself, am I following the rules? Ask a better question. What is one thing I can do right now to make my team, my workplace, just a little bit safer? That's the question that really matters.